into the show.
Welcome back. Well, this episode does have a pretty strong 1950s feel to it in a lot of ways. Certainly the music used is a lot more consistent with that era, and as well as the style of the announcements. I thought the middle one, just saying, hey, we're confident that things are going to get better, and that's our commercial message. That one was interesting. And of course, we had the reference to searching for uranium, which was a big focus in the atomic age, and you find some in the late 40s that reference uranium, but it becomes bigger as you get into the 1950s. The part at the end where Nick Carter puts his and Patsy's life in danger in order to capture the crook, that wasn't something that we heard in the wartime Nick Carter episodes, but in the post-war 1940s era, that was actually pretty common for this series. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I do have hope that we'll eventually hear more Nick Carter episodes coming into circulation. Radio Gold Index lists more than 300 episodes of Nick Carter, which at some time or another existed, and which I hope continue to exist and will someday be digitized. Though I don't know if we'll ever hear an episode quite as late in the series run as this one, though they do list several episodes from 1949 and 1950, so here's hoping that we eventually get to hear some of those. Now, our news on Season 10 and what you're going to hear on Tuesdays during Season 10. And I'm pleased to announce the only really brand new series that we will be doing next season will be Stand By for Crime. And so those will be on Tuesdays. And then we are going to have some revisits of series where there's new circulating episodes. We have 3 series with newly circulating episodes, and we'll feature those, and that will be it after Stand By for Crime. So no new additional series in Season 10. All right, now listener comments and feedback. And I have a tweet from Eric, who tweets me along with 2 other podcasters / YouTubers. He writes, "Hey y'all, tagging you because I feel at varying degrees your media is heavy on pause editing. The thread has a blurb from an article about leaving in some silence so those who view your media can process the information." And I do appreciate the feedback, Eric, and I will admit that I can be a little bit over-aggressive in removing some pauses. Now, I will admit that I edit out some pauses just because I'm not actually pausing. I struggle sometimes to follow the advice of the great Steve Smith, who portrayed Red Green on Canadian television, and his advice that when your mind goes blank, hit the mute button, because oftentimes I'm not pausing, I'm going, and so I want to cut the ums. But I will note that you really don't want to leave a whole lot of dead air, but, half second or something to think. I think that's an important area, not to, go crazy on, but I want to be sure it flows smoothly, but yeah, it does sound natural rather than like everything's just clipped together really fast. So I appreciate the feedback, and I'll take that under consideration. All right, that'll be all for now. Join us back here next week for Security Agent USA, and tomorrow it's another episode of Rocky Jordan. In the meantime, send your comments to boxler.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook. Facebook.com/Radio Detectives. And remember, you can become one of our Patreon supporters at greatdetectives.net. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.
All right, so Matt, did you know that I was named after my dad?
No, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it would have been really weird if I'd have been named before him.
Oh, man.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales.
All right, everybody, here we are again, and as you can tell, I sound really weird because I'm sick as a dog.
Adam is sick.
Oh, I'm sicker than, I almost cussed. I'm sicker than I have been in a long time. We'll put it that way.
This is the life of living with children.
Oh, yeah.
They bring all the germs to you. You don't even have to leave home to get them.
Right. It's amazing. It's like a delivery service, germ delivery service. And me being a slight germaphobe, that's not fun.
Yeah. He's like Howie Mandel. He fist bumps everybody.
Not quite that bad, but close. Very close. All right, so wanted to tell everybody again, go check out the Podbelly Network, podbelly.com. You can find information on how to start your own podcast and recording info and all that, and you can find other shows similar to ours or some that you may not ever run across because you don't go searching for that kind of stuff. So podbelly.com. We've got a live show on SIA, one of our interactive live shows, March 7th, which is a Saturday, and it's going to be 8 to 9:30 Central Standard Time. We're waiting on SIA to set up the room so that y'all can buy tickets, but it's going to be the same link that we used last time for this show. So whenever they get it set up, we'll post the link so that y'all can go click over and buy a ticket and join us then.
Yeah, it's going to be like $6 with a $49 Ticketmaster fee.
Yeah, we got to get that what is it, convenience fee in there.
Guess who just bought concert tickets and is a little bitter,
right? No, it won't be anywhere near that much.
No, it will not. It's a joke.
Yeah, it'll be a couple bucks, but the link will also be on our website. And another link that's on our website is the link to our Pigeon Forge show, which is July 18th in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, that we'll be joining Hillbilly Horror Stories for. So we look forward to seeing y'all there in person where we can shake your hand or fist bump and talk with y'all a little bit there. So if you're interested, go to graveyardpodcast.com and click over there and buy you a ticket.
Yeah, if you're in the area, it's a nice little weekend getaway. If you hadn't made any vacation plans, look, Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg is a lot of fun in the summer. There's a lot of stuff to do. And if you think, hey, I can take a vacation with my family and I can catch Adam and Matt and Jerry and Tracy, then please do. We would love to see everybody come out.
Yeah, it'd be great to see y'all and get to meet y'all. So Matt, before my voice gives out, why don't we get into this? Tell us what we're talking about tonight, brother.
Okay, so tonight we're going to be discussing the Ashmore Estates. And if you've never heard of this place, then you're like me. I'd never heard of this place. But it's really, it's got a lot of cool history, like some of the places that we've talked about. But it's not as gory or scary or a situation where the history is more terrifying than the actual haunting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really not like that. It's a unique place, but it is very, very active. And it's actually set up now for ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
It is designed for paranormal investigators.
A lot like the Pittsburgh hospital. Absolutely. We investigated.
Yeah, it's sitting there just waiting. come, spend the night, investigate, because we got a lot of stuff going on in here.
Right.
There's a really good chance if you had the opportunity to go and experience Ashmore Estates, that something is going to happen that probably would, it would scare me. I don't know about y'all.
Right.
Y'all may be a lot braver than I am.
So, like Matt was saying, the history is not super bloody and super gory and all that stuff. And for a history buff like myself, I was expecting to kind of see that, because when you talk about a place that has a lot of paranormal activity, that's the first thing you think is, well, this has been around forever, so there's got to be some bloody history and stuff to it. But it was a place that could have housed a lot of intense emotions.
Sure.
So we'll get into that and kind of talk about it a little bit. It is actually in Ashmore, Illinois. It's 22645 East County Road, 1050 North, Ashmore, Illinois, if you want to go check it out and drive over there and find it. If any of y'all are close, go by and take us some pictures, send them to us. But it was built many, many moons ago, and I've got a little blurb here that I thought was funny that I wanted to put up front. It said, after being abandoned in 1987, Ashmore Estates gained notoriety as a local curiosity and was subjected to trespass and vandalism. Now, rumors spread that the building was haunted. For the Halloween issue of the Verge section of the Daily Eastern News, Mike Rice and Matt Fear wrote a satirical piece on how to make Ashmore Estates into a, quote, highly illegal Halloween escapade. It says, quote, no one is really sure what this building once housed, they wrote, but there are stories. These tales revolve around pagan rituals and dismembered bodies. We aren't sure if any of them are true or not, but they sure do make for 3 floors of unadulterated fun. So I thought that was funny that in 87, they were pushing this place as just this gory, pagan rituals, dismembered bodies place in a newspaper there. So I want to start with that because I thought it was funny. Now let's get into the real history of it. From 1857 to about 1869, the Coles County Poor Farm was located in that area near the small town of Luxa, Illinois. And if you don't know what a poor farm is, that's when people say, I'm headed to the poorhouse. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Is it was if you were down and out, and you most likely, most of the time it was elderly people that couldn't work a job. Their health, permitted them to basically just be laid around, and they couldn't pay rent at their house. Well, they were put in this government-run poor farm, and the ones that were their spouses or whatever that were able-bodied, they did put to work on the farm doing labor throughout the day, and the rest of them just kind of stayed, in this big building.
Yeah.
And all of this, that was all before the Social Security Act took place. Yeah. So they kind of got rid of the poor farms and poorhouses once the Social Security Act kind of took over.
I'm surprised I didn't grow up in a place like this.
Oh, yeah?
Because my mother used to tell me all the time, Matt, you're going to put us in the poorhouse.
Right.
Like, what am I doing?
Right.
I think a lot of it was in reference to me outgrowing shoes.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Look.
Yeah, I was told that when I was eating.
I can't help
eat us into the poorhouse.
I quit growing taller, but my feet kept growing longer.
Yeah, you got a good understanding.
Yeah, I heard that a lot.
Yeah, right. Well, in 1870, the county purchased 260 acres from A.N. Graham in Section 35 of Ashmore Township for a new farm. And this new farm kind of sat over the Indianapolis and St. Louis railroads. Well, there was a small timber and brick building that was constructed by H.B. Truman that was the first to sit on this property. And it was only 38 by 58 feet and 2 stories tall with an attached kitchen. And, that was the very first building. And then they started building on from there. But you gotta have a starting place. And it was only 38 by 58 feet. Well, many residents, or they termed them inmates.
Well, that's a terrible term.
Right? I mean,
hey, I'm having trouble making ends meet. Oh, well, you can be an inmate at the poorhouse.
Yeah, come be an inmate at my poor farm. Yeah.
That's too much of a prison connotation there for me, man.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, many of them actually died at the farm, and the county maintained this small cemetery just a little bit north of the grounds. And in 1879, Joshua Ricketts, who was superintendent of the county farm, had apparently recorded 32 deaths out of roughly 250 of the, quote, inmates who stayed at the farm. And this was just in 9 years between 1870 and 1879. There is another, quote, pauper cemetery that was established a few years later, and it actually still exists off Route 16, and now contains the graves of between 60 to 100 different people.
You know what's funny when I hear that, the cemetery still exists? Guess what? They all still exist. You just may not be able to see the tombstones.
Yeah.
They're still there.
They all still exist. We just built on top of them.
That's right. We just went, I don't see any tombstones here, so let's build something here.
Yep. The cemetery must not exist anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't exist anymore. They expire after 100 years. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got a shelf life, so.
Oh, gosh.
Dispose of after date printed on side of tombstone.
Yeah. Ask anybody that's built something on top of an ancient Indian burial ground if that's a good idea.
Yeah, it goes away. Don't worry about it.
Just spray this on the ground. It'll be fine.
Yeah. It's called Ghost Off. And it's like you have your exterminator come out to get rid of ants.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get rid of these spirits.
Yeah. Spirit away with the new spray.
My Xbox isn't working. There's an ancient Indian spirit that keeps punching the off button.
Mm-hmm. Hell, I would too if I was haunting a place. I'd screw with the electronics. Make the teenage kids mad.
Uh-huh.
All right, so the building contract for a new almshouse, which is another term for the same thing that we've been talking about, was granted to J.W. Montgomery in March for $289. And the first cornerstone of this was laid on May 17th of 1916, and they had this big ceremony, to lay this first cornerstone and all that. Well, there was a full-time caretaker who lived there and his family, and they all took turns like living at that house or another white farmhouse that sat on the property. Well, the Coles County sold this almshouse to Ashmore Estates Incorporated in February of 1959. Now, this corporation opened the building as a private psychiatric hospital, and they called it Ashmore Estates Incorporated. So right there, we've got the first mention of a psychiatric hospital. But if you think about it, a poor farm would have a lot of high energy,